Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to go over this practice worksheet. Now this goes over all the types of questions that you'll encounter on the quiz coming up. So let's jump right into this. Okay, this first type of question, we have an x squared term, we have an x term, we have a constant term. So something like this gives us two different options. We can factor or we can use the quadratic equation. Now, I always try to factor first. So to factor, we're going to circle that last number, -8. And let's make a table here. These are all the numbers that multiply to be -8. 1 and -8, 2 and -4. Then let's flip those signs around. -1 and 8, -2 and 4. Now I look at the middle number, 7. I want a positive 7. And the one that'll give me that is this. So I'm going to factor this. Let me zoom here. Factor this as x minus 1, x plus 8 equals 0. And so my solutions are 1 comma -8. Just flipping those signs there. Okay, this next question. Try to factor this. Positive 6, -3, -2. Negative times a negative multiplies to be a positive 6. And they also add up to be that -5. So I get x minus 3, x minus 2 equals 0. So my solutions are positive 3 and positive 2. Okay, this next one, -12, 1 and -12, 2 and -6, 3 and -4. Flip those signs around, positive 12, -6, -4, positive 4. Okay, so the one that I want is this last one. -3 times positive 4 will give me -12, but -3 plus 4 is going to give me positive 1. So I'm going to write x minus 3, x plus 4 is equal to 0. So my solutions are 3 and -4. Okay, this next one, 7 and 10. And my solutions are -5, -2. Okay, so let's scroll down here a little bit more. And let's do the bottom half of these ones. Okay. Oh, that didn't give me what I wanted. I want to scroll down. Okay, let's do from 5 to 10. Try this one more time, guys. Okay, -8. So I'm thinking of two numbers here, 4 and 2. Yeah, I like 4 and 2. I'm just not sure about the signs. I want it to be positive, so let's make the bigger number positive, smaller number negative. And yeah, that's going to work because 4 minus 2 is 2. 4 times -2 is -8. Solutions are -4 and 2. All right, this one, 4 and 2, except this time they're both positive. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 plus 2 is 6. So my solutions here are -4, -2. This one, 20. I'm thinking something like 10 and 2. 10 times 2 is 20. 10 plus 2 is 12. So my solutions are 10 and 2. All right, 21. I'm thinking something like 7 and 3. 7 and 3 is 21. I know one of them's got to be positive. One has to be negative to get that negative sign. And this is a -4. So the bigger number, we're going to make that a negative. We're going to make that a positive. I'm just going to check here. -7 plus 3 is -4. -7 times positive 3, -21. And so my solutions here are 7 comma -3. Okay, x plus 3, x minus 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. Yep, that's good. Solutions are -3 and 1. Here we're going to do x minus 7, x minus 3. Solutions are going to be 7 and 3. Just checking that, 7, 3, 10. Oh yeah, that checks out. Okay, cool. So let's go now and attack this right-hand column. Now this right-hand column, we've got some different types of questions here, so let's talk about them. Here you're going to notice x squared equals 16. This is different than the ones we've seen before. In that left-hand column, here there's no x term. There's a squared term, there's a constant term. So the fastest way to solve this is by taking the square root of both sides. but my answer is going to be plus minus. Now remember that plus minus. Okay, why does the negative 4 work? Well, my original equation was x squared equals 16, so 4 times 4 equals 16, but negative 4 times negative 4 is also 16. So the negative is just as much a solution as the positive. Okay, same deal. X equals plus minus squared 11. Okay, this one, it's not, it's a little bit different here. Probably the best thing to do is to add 9 to both sides. X squared equals 9, take the square root, x equals plus minus 3. Same thing here, add 7, x squared equals 7, x equals plus minus square root of 7. Okay, let's go down here. X squared equals 1, I just added 1 to both sides, x equals plus minus 1. Okay, number 16, I put in here just kind of for fun. X squared equals negative 6. We're going to take the square root, we're going to take the square root. But can you ever have the square root of a negative number? No, you can't. So there's no solution. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it this way. X squared plus 6 equals 0. For that to be equal to 0, this chunk right here would have to be negative 6. But you can never have x squared equal to something negative, right? Whenever you square something that's positive, and so that just doesn't work. Okay, so those are those guys. We're using the square root method to solve all of those. Okay, let me scroll down here and we'll do the bottom ones here. Now these bottom ones, we can solve all of these by inspection, meaning we just look at them and we know the answer. So here the answers are 0 and negative 2. And that's because if this number times this number is equal to 0, either that chunk A has to be 0 or that chunk B has to be 0. Now the way to make this chunk 0 is by having x be negative 2. If x is negative 2, that whole chunk turns into a 0. Okay, same deal here. 0, negative 7, 0, comma 3, easy, right? 20, there's a little bit of work we got to do to factor it. But once we factor it, then the solutions are 0, negative 9. Okay, how are we factoring this again? X squared, let me change colors here. X squared is x times x. 9x is 9 times x. Both of these guys have an x in common, which we pull out. And then the leftovers go in here. The leftovers are x and 9. Okay, let's go and attack the back page of this here. Okay, so on these guys, let me just mark this up again. On this one, you have an x squared term, you've got an x term, and you have a constant. So if you've got all three of those things, an x squared, an x term, and a constant, you have two options. Number one is to factor. Number two is the quadratic equation. Now, it's always easiest to factor if you can, but for both of these, you must make equal to 0, okay? Circle that, put some arrows around that. You must make it equal to 0. No matter what method you use, it has to equal 0. So let's make this equal to 0. We're going to subtract 14. We're going to subtract 14. Let's rewrite this out. X squared plus 5x minus 14 equals 0. All right, so now I got negative 14. 1 and negative 14, 2 and negative 7. Let's do negative 2 and 7, and that's the one I want. And so we're going to write this as x minus 2, x plus 7 equals 0. All right, now just double check, see if this works. Negative 2 plus 7 is positive 5. Negative 2 times positive 7 is negative 14. So we check that off. And now we can just write our answers here. Our answers are flipping those signs, 2 and negative 7. Okay, same process applies to this guy. We got to make it equal to 0. To make it equal to 0, we're adding 2 to both sides. So I got x squared minus 3x plus 2 equals 0. We're going to factor that as x minus 2, x minus 1 equals 0. Just double check that. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. Negative 2 plus negative 1 is negative 3. So that's good. All right, so my answers are 2, 1. All right, 23. We want to make it equal to 0. We're going to subtract 6x. We're going to subtract 6x. x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. And what numbers will work here? I'm feeling something like 8 and 2. And we've got to make that one negative, that one positive. Let's just double check. Negative 8 plus 2, negative 6, negative 8 times 2, negative 16. Solutions are 8 and, hang on, 8 and negative 2. Okay. So now let's go do the ones on the right-hand side here. So let's mark this up. Now for this one, again, we've got the x squared term, we've got the x term, and we've got the constant term. So two options here. We can either factor this or we can use the quadratic equation. Now this one will actually factor, but I always think that it's easier to just plug it into the quadratic equation and just kind of crank it out. So the quadratic equation, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Our a is 5, our b is 16, and our c is 12. So we're going to plug this in, negative, and plug it in 16, plus or minus the square root in place of b, I'm writing 16, minus 4a is 5, c is 12, all over 2a. Okay, cleaning up inside here, negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 16 squared. What's 16 squared? Uh, 9 plus 6. Okay, 256. I hope that's right. 256 minus, let's see, 4 times 5 is 20, 240 all over 10. And that's going to equal negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 16 all over 10, which is negative 16 plus or minus 4 over 10. Breaking this apart into two different equations, we've got negative 16 plus 4 over 10 and negative 16 minus 4 over 10. Negative 16 plus 4 is negative 12 over 10. Negative 16 minus 4 is negative 20 over 10. That's going to give me negative 6 over 5. And this one's going to give me negative 2. Now, I hope that's right. There's a chance I made a mistake here. What I would do on these questions on the quiz is go back and check every single step. Just make sure you didn't make any silly mistakes. Okay, so let's go and mark up this next one. Okay, same deal, quadratic equation. The quadratic equation is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So negative 11 plus or minus 121 minus 40 all over 4 is equal to negative 11 plus or minus 81 over 4, which is negative 11 plus or minus 9 over 4. Breaking this apart into two different cases, negative 11 plus 9 over 4, negative 11 minus 9 over 4. That's going to be negative 2/4, which is negative 1/2. This is going to be negative 20 over 4, which is negative 5. And I think that's right. Again, I'm not myself 100% sure because it's so easy to make little mistakes, but if you got the same answer, then maybe we both did something right. Okay, let's just do just one more of these quadratic equation ones because they're kind of a pain. Let's do this guy right here, the bottom one. Okay, the quadratic equation is negative b. Now here, because this is a negative sign, I still have to write negative b. So it's negative 17, plus or minus the square root of b squared, negative 17 squared, minus 4a, a is 4, C is 4, all over 2a, and a is 4. Okay, so negative negative 17 is positive 17. We'll just write 17. Plus or minus the squared. What's 17 squared? 7 times 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 0, 1, 7, 9, 8, 189. That sounds familiar. 189. 4 times 4 times 4, I'm pretty sure is 64 all over 8. Okay, 189 minus 64. What's that going to be? 25? Oh, that's a nice happy number. Square root of 25 all over 8. Okay, now let's go over here. So now we got 17 plus or minus the square root of 25 is 5 all over 8. Breaking this apart, negative 17 plus 5 over 8 and negative 17 minus 5 over 8. Negative 17 plus 5, negative 12 over 8. Negative 17 minus 5, negative 22 over 8. That's going to be negative, let's see, divide both of those by 4. So negative 3 halves. Divide both of those in half, negative 11 4. So that's super messy, but it's negative 3 halves and negative 11 fourths for the solution to question 28. Okay, that's it, guys. Send me a message in Canvas if you got any questions.